Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Before we begin, would you please take a moment to hit those like and share buttons so that others can enjoy these nuggets as well. Also, before we begin, I want to thank Cynthia for leading out in last week's study, The Mystery of the Gospel. This week's lesson is entitled, The Unified Body of Christ. Our memory text for this week comes from Ephesians 4:11 and 12. And he gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and teachers to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ. Sabbath's lesson starts out with a really great story about the belly and the feet, which have an argument about, which one is more important. The moral of the story is that in order to function, let alone survive, they both needed each other. This week's lesson is going to drive this very point home, that in order for you and I to spiritually function, let alone survive, we actually need each other's gifts. In other words, when it comes to both the church and the Christian life, we are in this together. So much so, the health of the church is dependent on each member using their spiritual gifts in such a way as to promote the spiritual health of those around us. In other words, a healthy church is a church that uses its spiritual gifts to invest in each other's, relationship with Jesus. And this brings us, to Sunday's lesson. In Ephesians 4:1, he challenges the church to walk in a manner worthy of their calling. That word for walk comes from a Greek word that means to intentionally organize your steps or your behavior in such a way as to get, where you want to go. Imagine, if you will, that you want to go on some exotic vacation. What happens next is that you intentionally sit down and you plan on how you're going to get there to everything you will do when you actually get there. First, you make the plan, then you execute the plan. So here you are. You're a Christian, and you have a destination. Paul says it's a calling, and a calling means that you are called by God to do something for God. And what God has called you to do for him is to be united together with the other members of your church family. The question is, how determined are you to organize your steps so as to walk in obedience to God's call on your life? How determined are you to use your spiritual gifts in such a way as to unite his church? The destination is unity. The question is, how determined are you to get there? Well, more about that later in the week.